Hey guys, and welcome back to Franchise Nation. I am your host, Moonlight Swami. Today I'm bringing you guys, well, this is going to be a little bit of a news episode because we have two games in between week number 1 and week number 4, the two games that we drew to start out the season. So, week 4 is going to be versus the Packers. That's going to be a really intense matchup from Levi Stadium. But, in the meantime, we have a game at the Arizona Cardinals, and then at the Minnesota Vikings, I believe are the two. So, with that being said, let me show you guys the results for week number 2, and I'll show you guys the box score, and then we're going to go into some scouting, and then we're going to simulate again. So, let's get right into it. We actually lose week number 2 at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are 2-0, the only team in the division that are 2-0. Let's see how everybody did. Okay, so it seems like we might have had a fourth quarter lead, but we blew it in the end. We were actually trailing in the fourth quarter. We might have been able to take the lead, but all was not good enough. Let's see. They had the ball for longer. So Brady Johns, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Corey Hammond, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. 53% passing, not ideal. Seems like a rough game for Brady, even though they almost won. Fumble from who? We had another turnover. I don't know where that other turnover came from, but maybe it was a wide receiver fumble or something. Jamal Alden, 15 for 79. Duke Johnson, 10 for 35 in his first game back and a touchdown. Receiving-wise, Kris Arnold led the way. Martavis Bryant had a good game. Jarius Wright was good. Nate Hill also getting into some good realm there. Andre Holmes. Eduardo Hicks led the way for the Cardinals in terms of a touchdown. Bernie Lauderdale, 1 reception, 21 yards. Okay, nothing too great there. Blocking-wise, 3 sacks allowed by DJ Humphries, which means, we'll take a look at the tackles. 9 tackles led the way for Jawan Carey. Tackles for a loss, Dallas Austin, Elgin Armstead, and Ben Doyle. Sacks, 3 for Aaron Lynch, 1 for Michael Brockers, so that means that there was a sack that was unattributed to an offensive lineman that was on Brady Johns. Interceptions, 1 for Eric Reid, 1 for Pat Pete, and 1 for Alfonso Dannard. So, definitely not an easy game for Brady Johns. Lots of pass deflections by both teams. A lot of pass deflections. Catches allowed. Who led the most? Okay. Inside linebackers led the way. Safeties, then Patrick Peterson. Brandon Boykin allowed a few. Heath Jackson allowed 1. Okay. No catches allowed for JT Ogletree. Wow. That's pretty impressive. Forced fumbles. 1 for Minter. 1 for Jamal McNeal. Minter recovered his. No touchdowns. No safeties. Kicking-wise, Brandon McManus, 2 for 2. Kyle Brinzo, 1 for 1. Matt Darr and Marquette King, both punting pretty well. And nothing special in terms of the returns. So, with that being said, Malcolm Jenkins played 100 snaps. That's insane. So with that being said, we are 1-1 and we'll be taking on the Minnesota Vikings for week number 3. But before we do that, we're going to go over to the scouting and get a look at some of the players that we are going to be looking at. Actually, let's take a look first before we even get into that. Let's see. Well, Richard Sherman signed a 1-year extension, which is cool. Okay, Florida State, FSU wide receiver, Malcolm Jordan, son of gold medal sprinter. Good to know. Let's see if he's got that blazing speed. That's definitely someone that we're going to look at. Obviously, it's not too important for us, but, it's still something worth looking at. So he's a wide receiver. Malcolm Jordan, there he is. Number 1 player on the board. 6'4". Wow. Red zone threat with blazing speed. He's going to be one of the first picks in the draft easily with that catching traffic, catching spectacular. That's scary. Positions that we need to look at. Well, first off, before we get into there, we need to look at our salaries. I think that's something that we need to see. Players who are going to be who need to be re-signed this season. We have Brandon McManus, Eric Armstead, Josh Wells, and Jaquiski Tartt. So that's not too bad in terms of immediate re-signing. But in terms of salaries overall, we're going to have to start looking towards the future a little bit. Who has 2 years left? So a bunch of players have 1 year left. Bryce McCain, Jaquiski Tart, McManus. Okay. Le'Veon Duncan, Alex Boone, Bernie Lauderdale, Freddie Young, Demontre Harmon, Wes Dorsey, Christian Reeves, Darius Motes, Elgin Armstead, Kris Kirksey, Nate Hill, Deontay Jackson, Boykin, Tyler Gordon, Kruger. So these are a lot of players that we're going to have to re-sign in the near future. So it might be worth looking into potential replacements for some of these guys in the near future just in case. It might not hurt to draft another corner. It seems that Tyler Gordon's been a bit disappointing for us. We'll need to look at left tackle, absolutely, because Alex Boone probably will not be returning. It's things like that. We'll take a look, see if there's anybody who stands out. If we can get someone who's really a good player, then it might be worth, drafting them and developing them in a year or so behind someone like an Alex Boone or someone of that nature. So there we go. Nothing too great. Josh Donnelly looks pretty awesome. That's definitely someone. Tamario Jordan might be another player that's interesting just because he has good impact blocking and that's probably the hardest thing to get up. We'll take a look at both of them. I think both of those guys are pretty cool. Plus he has all 3 stats labeled, so B- run blocking is pretty good. I mean, I really am okay with that. So those are 2 guys that we're going to watch. And now that we have all of that settled, we are going to keep on moving and we are going to sim the week. Be right back. I'm actually going to do some game prep and stuff. And then we'll sim the week. Hey guys, we're back. So let's take a look at the result. And it seems that we did lose to the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. That's not good. That drops us to 1-2 as we take on the 2-1 Green Bay Packers. Let's see how it happened. It's a 38-31 loss at the Vikings. So Brady Johns is officially 1-2. They had a 21-point fourth quarter. That means that they were down 31-17 going into the fourth, and they managed to pull out the victory. That is crazy. We had 4 turnovers. That's not good. Had the ball a lot of the game. Let's see. Teddy Bridgewater, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Brady Johns, 285, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 62% completion. Bridgewater at 62% as well. So he was completing passes, but he was also completing too many to the other team. Ryan Matthews, 2 touchdowns. Jamon Alden with a touchdown. Jared Heen with a touchdown. Duke Johnson with 2 touchdowns. Deontay Jackson with a touchdown. So that's where all the touchdowns came from. Ryan Matthews had 2 fumbles. Bernie Lauderdale, 10 receptions, 138 after having only 2 receptions in the first 2 weeks combined. That's a big game for him. Martavis Bryant, 757. Martinez Sapp led the way for the Vikings. D'Angelo Daniel had a touchdown. Kris Arnold, 3 for 49. Nate Hill, 2 for 29. Okay, not ideal. Not ideal. Let's see in terms of statistics. All right, 10 tackles. 10 tackles for Darius Motes in his return. Tackles for a loss, 2 for Terrence Cody, 1 for Tank Carter, 1 for Linval Joseph. Sacks, 1 for Mike Daniels. There we go. Interceptions, 2 for Trey Waynes and 1 for Eric Kendricks. Deflections, generally a lot of those. Yeah, good amount of deflections across the board. Catches allowed, 5 for Anthony Barr, 4 for JT Ogletree, 4 for Waynes, 3 for Kendrick, 3 for Harris, 2 for Dawson, 2 for Boykin, 2 for Reid, 2 for Cole, 2 for Motes, 2 for Najee Simon, 2 for Jamal, 1 for Jamal McNeal, 1 for those guys. Catch yards allowed, doesn't say. Okay. Forced fumbles, 1 for Motes, 1 for Sadale Hunt, and 1 for LaRon Hill. Recoveries by Hunt and Hill. Touchdowns, anything defensively? No. Any blocks? No. Okay. In terms of kicking, both kickers made their kicks. All right, punting. 2 touchbacks for Marquette King, 45 net. 1 there. Kick return, nothing too special from either side. All right, so that is the score for the game. Now we have to take a look at one other thing. Were there any injuries? And then we'll get to the scouting. All right, so we'll start there. Injury report. Oh, damn it. We just got Motes back. And now we lose Aaron Lynch for 7 weeks, and we lose Alex Boone for 4. Damn! That's just... that's really rough. Now we have to figure out how we're going to go about replacing the two of them. I'll get to that in a second. Let's take a look and see if there are any other big transactions. We saw Richard Sherman last time. Jonathan Hankins extends 6 years, $81 million to a 7-year, $93 million contract. That's a crazy number for Jonathan Hankins up the middle. Texans signed John Ryan. Okay, so nothing too special. Let's see in terms of the news. News. Any draft stories? Okay, tight end. Terrell Curry sees his nightmare season continue, fumbling the ball on the potential game-winning drive. Ouch. We'll take a look at him, though. He could be an interesting player. We'll see what his stats look like. Before we get to the scouting, we need to go into the depth chart and we need to determine what we're going to do. We're not going to give up on Brady Johns yet. We're going to give him the opportunity. He won the starting job for a reason. Do we want to put La'el Collins out there and put Christian Reeves back at right guard? Or do we want to give Felix Brandt an opportunity to prove himself? La'el Collins probably is the best fit. But he seems to be really thriving in that role. So you know what? Because of the strength, I'm going to leave Felix Brandt here. And we're going to give him an opportunity. We're going to give him an opportunity versus the Packers at the starting left tackle spot. If things don't work out mid-game, we can always put in Reeves and we can move over La'el Collins. But, that's something that we have to do. I think Grant is probably the best successor at the moment, and now we get the rookie some playing time. After that, we're going to look at left outside linebacker. And with Aaron Lynch down, it seems like we're going to get some good amount of Najee Simon. Okay, we get the rookie out of Tennessee. He's going to get some opportunity to start. We'll see what he can do. Obviously, Kruger is someone who we could always use. But at the moment, Kruger doesn't help us long term. I think we should at least see what Najee Simon can do. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's probably the best solution. And then at right outside linebacker, we can leave it the way that is. Okay, so that's how we have that. At corner, we're still without Tyler Gordon. So we have Motes, Ogletree, Boykin, Malcolm Jenkins as the fourth corner, and then Le'Veon Duncan. We have Bryce McCain kind of chilling here. He's learning the system. I don't think we'll see too much of him, though. It's just as a safety net. We have Heath Jackson playing free safety when Malcolm Jenkins goes to corner, which is a very interesting fit, and Jamal McNeal there. So basically, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place, losing both Aaron Lynch and Alex Boone in 1 week. But we sit 1-2 with real danger of falling to 1-3 as we do take on the Green Bay Packers. So before we actually look at the Packers and we look at the standings and all of that jazz, let's do some scouting real quick. Scouting is always fun. So let's see. Let's start with that tight end. Okay, Terrell Curry. B spectacular catch, B catch in traffic, B minus catching. Okay, we'll spotlight him. 6'6", 263. He's a receiver. He's a pure receiver. Might be a good player to pair with Bernie Lauderdale as that twin tight end set. Now let's take a look at some corners. Okay, B.J. Albury's not very impressive. Tevin Timmons, not too impressive either. Hey, Javier Russell, big guy. Prototype. Okay, he might be a good one. LaMarcus Stills, not bad, not great. KJ Parham, big corner, another player, another prototype. Could be a good player. Lindsey Pierce, that man coverage is a little bit scary. Another 6-foot corner. Michael Jordan. We do currently have the 23rd pick, so we have to be a little bit cautious. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get a lot of these guys, but if we don't have a good season, it's worth at least scouting the cream of the crop, and then we can go a little bit lower. But there's some players in here that could be very interesting. So we have 2 scouting points left. Obviously, that's not going to benefit us at all. So now that we have that done, we are going to go over and take a look at the standings. So we currently are 2-1. Or we're 1-2, sorry. Cardinals are 2-1. Seahawks are 2-1. Rams are 1-2. We've allowed 100 points through 3 games. Not ideal. Definitely not ideal. We have to be better. We're 0-2 on the road. It's not unexpected, but it shouldn't be happening. Cowboys are 2-1. Redskins 2-1. Giants, Eagles 0-3. After winning the Super Bowl, Eagles at 0-3. That's crazy. NFC South, Panthers 1-2. Saints 1-2. Bucs and Falcons 2-1. And the Packers and Vikings lead the way at 2-1 in the NFC North. Going over to the AFC West, Broncos 3-0. Chargers 2-1. Raiders, Chiefs 1-2. AFC East, all teams are 1-2. AFC South, Texans and Colts 3-0. Bryce Petty leading the way. Colts 3-0. AFC North, Steelers 3-0. Bengals 2-1. So let me take a look and see Bryce Petty, how he's been doing over in Houston, because obviously he's the reason that that's happening. Better be. I want to see if Andrew Luck is still injured. So, wow, 41-7. Is that Bryce Petty putting on a show? That's Bryce Petty putting on a show. Man, this kid is so good. Maybe it was a mistake getting rid of him. Maybe. Just maybe. But all in all, that's crazy. Tons of stats. Racking them up. Rack them up. He's on fire! And then after that, we'll take a look at versus the Giants. I mean, the Giants aren't a good team, so... But still, Bryce Petty, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Eli Manning, 7 for 18 passing. That's atrocious. They ran the ball. Both teams ran the ball a lot. Okay. So Bryce Petty's had a really good season so far. I'm curious about the Colts. So who's their starting quarterback? Is it Thad Lewis? CJ? Oh, it's EJ Manuel. Wow. EJ's been good. We can look at the league stats in a second, but now we're going to look at the Packers. So they lost week 1 to the Cardinals. They killed the Rams, and they killed the Patriots. 3 good games for them. We'll take a look at their stats, and we'll take a look at their injuries. We'll start with the injuries, and then we'll go to their stats. So the Packers are definitely a scary team. They knocked us out of the playoffs last time, and oh my goodness, they are hurt badly. Oh my. No Aaron Rodgers in the matchup versus the Packers. That's huge. No Bakhtiari, no Bulaga, no Rodgers, no Jordy, no Cedric Taylor, no DJ Woodson. What does that mean for them? Well, that means that we get a break, first off. That's a chance for us to really get to 2-2. But let's take a look at the Packers. Brett Hundley is starting. Eddie Lacy, Chris Ivory and company. Randall Cobb, Riley Cooper, Denario Alexander, Malcolm Johns, Javier Norwood, that was Paul. Dustin Glass, a 60 overall. Ooh. Sitting in the middle, or at left guard. Lindsley in the middle, really good player for them. TJ Lang, great at guard. Patrick Lewis, another low-level tackle. DeVito, Quentin Dial, Steve McClendon, Angel Johnson, dumb as rocks. Clay Matthews, Danny Trevathan, and Donald Butler. Okay, so Donald Butler's not a huge drop-off. Martin Roberts is still healthy. Casey Hayward, Demarius Randall, Quentin Rollins, Malcolm Bryan, and Brian Stewart. Clinton Dix. And Aaron Williams at strong safety, not Morgan Burnett, Greg the Leg Zerline, and Ryan Allen. So this is going to be an interesting matchup against the Packers, to say the least. But we'll take a look at their stats, and then we'll end up cutting off this video. So pretty much Brady Johns is 5 touchdowns, 5 picks, 882 yards, and he's throwing at 59%. So he's not having a great time of things, but he's a rookie. You expect growing pains. Jamal Alden, 6.0 yards per carry. Martavis Bryant leading the way. Nate Hill right there with him. Kris Arnold and Bernie Lauderdale both in the vicinity. Jamal Alden, Jamal Mason. In terms of sacks allowed, not too bad. 27 tackles for Eric Reid. 2 tackles for a loss. I think the biggest loss for us is going to be Aaron Lynch. Not having him for that crazy production off the edge. It's a little disconcerting, but we'll take a look at the Packers now. We'll see how they are doing. Let's start off with the passing. So Brett Hundley, 69%, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 345 yards. Great numbers. Eddie Lacy, 4.5 yards per carry, is always dangerous. Randall Cobb, Riley Cooper, Javier Norwood, Jordy Nelson, Eddie Lacy. Okay. So, I mean, they don't have a ton going on for them. Dustin Glass has been giving up a ton of sacks. Trevathan, Clinton Dix, Donald Butler. Any interceptions for them? Yes, 2 for Aaron Williams. Okay, rangy guy back there, so that's not too unexpected. Forced fumbles. That's, wow, Casey Hayward laying the boom. Crazy. So that's basically everything for you guys. We'll take a look at just the awards and then we're ended. Deshaun Jackson, Winston, Williamson, Justin Houston, Matt Ryan, Hayward, Dalton, Mayo as your players of the week. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. There will be the game against the Packers on Wednesday. This is either going up on Monday or Tuesday. I don't know which yet when I'm recording it. So, yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Moonlight Swami, and I will be talking to you guys later. Hopefully we can stop allowing so many points. That'll be good. All right. Peace.